Life is complex.
So is our mental health. It cannot be understood by diagnosis alone.
Our philosophy is treat the person, not the mental illness.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Humanizing Mental Health. I'm Trent Nakers.
I'm Jeremy Alcorn.
I'm Amy Alcorn.
Well, everybody, for those of you that are watching on video, you may notice that our background has changed. That's because as we're recording this today, it is Labor Day. So we're not at the office. We're actually in my apartment, which for those people who may or may not be aware that have been with us since the beginning or have gone back and re-listened, this is where we actually started the podcast. So we've gone back to our roots. But today, as we're back in my apartment, we're actually looking forward to the future as we're going to be talking about personalized wellness and the future of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we have a guest today, don't we, Jeremy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're happy to have Jackie Durnin that is with us today, actually all the way down in the land down under. So I think it's tomorrow for you today, isn't it?
Correct. It's Tuesday here.
Yeah. So really, we're kind of in limbo. So yeah.
But I gotta mention, of course, we're in Trent's space, and for those of you that are new to the podcast, you can see that Trent is a wheelchair user, and he's actually one of the toughest guys I know. See, just in his bedroom, he's got this trapeze. He actually lifts himself out of his chair, and someone slides him across, and he lets himself down into his bed. So I was just hanging on his trapeze here just a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, as we're hanging out today, you're hanging on my trapeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So Jackie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Mm-hmm. It is our pleasure. Want to give a little bit of context for our viewership. So Jackie has a website that we want to promote and that we'll put in the show notes, which is hinterlandhealthretreat.com. It's a world first rehabilitation combining revolutionary neuro-technology with leading holistic therapies to create a truly tailored transformative experience. If you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit first about the context of what you're doing with Hinterland.
So I suppose having quite a few years experience working at health retreats and run my own, I wanted to create something different, recognizing that everyone's unique and everyone's an individual. And we live in a very technological age. And I thought there has to be technology out there that can help people with depression, anxiety, addictions, physical pain, whatever it may be. And I proceeded to start searching high and low for this, and found quite a few technologies in the US actually that can do lots of different things. But in the context of Hinterland Health Retreat, we have one piece of technology. It's like a meditation chair. So they say 10 minutes in this chair is the equivalent of you meditating by yourself for a year. So it puts you into a very, very deep theta state.
Wow.
And that can help. They're using it with soldiers in the Ukraine war. So soldiers on the front line. They're using it with kids in the Ukraine who are traumatized, who've lost parents, and they have had some kids who have stopped speaking due to trauma. They're putting them in this. They have a center with these chairs, and kids are starting to speak again because this completely relaxes their body, and I suppose creates a space for healing. They're also working a lot with high impact sports, so UFC, or think American football, anything where there's a lot of probability of traumatic brain injury, concussion. And with concussion, the thing is you need to rest, but that can be very difficult. So what the chair does is it forces you into that restful state. So therefore your healing is faster. So that's one piece, for example. So my thought process is, as I said, we rely on technology all the time. Surely there's technology that we can use in this space of mental health and addiction that will help people on their journey, or maybe on some level even fast track. So and I think as someone who's been on my own healing journey, so I was sexually abused as a child, and it wasn't probably until I emigrated to Australia that I decided to, or felt the need to address that and go to seek out various types of therapy, whatever that may be, because I was on a mission to fix myself and heal myself. And I was being triggered a lot. And I think back on those journeys, and while I had many amazing modalities, I just think how these technologies would have accelerated that process for me.
Mm.
Because there would have been times maybe that I wasn't able to access the emotional center of my brain, or I may have been very overwhelmed. But if I, for example, had have had 10 minutes in a chair, it would have relaxed me down, and then I would have potentially been able to have a therapy session, if that makes sense. So I think um, finding all these technologies, there's another one that we found that it's like a brain balancing technology. So you do an EEG of someone's brain, and if, for example, they're addicted, their judgment center will be very small in their brain, and their impulsivity center will be quite large. And what this technology does is it rebalances, so it'll reduce the size of your impulsivity center, increase the size of your judgment. And the lady in the US has been following her clients for over 3 years, and they have an 85% success rate of not relapsing, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So using this technology, we also are looking at something that's just come out, which is red light therapy for the brain and the gut, because there's a huge connection between your gut. They say, you know,
Totally.
depression starts in the gut.
Yeah.
So doing red light therapy on your gut and your brain, and the lady who invented that was involved with research for red light therapy for dementia and Parkinson's. And she noticed over a 30-day period, by just doing red light therapy on your brain, that people's personality was coming back, where their partners would have described that they almost didn't have an opinion before. By doing red light therapy for 30 days, they suddenly were like, had an opinion again, and their drawing or their handwriting had improved over that time. And she just saw huge benefits. And she's like, well, what if you combined red light therapy on your gut as the same time as you're doing it on your brain? And so using that, also having an IV clinic on site, so looking at people's bloods, and seeing if there's any deficiencies, if they're low in vitamin B or D or whatever it is, and just trying to boost them physically, and then bringing in all the therapies, mind, body, spirit therapies. So making sure, I've worked in places where we might just only address the mind. So there'd be a lot of like psychotherapy or psychology sessions, but it's really important to do body sessions like trauma release exercises, or kinesiology, or whatever that body therapy may be, to allow you to release the trauma. So
Absolutely. I really love that you're bringing that up, because I like where we work at Synergy. I think for a lot of us, like when we look at starting with clients, or at least for a lot of us, we'll look at trying to stabilize the body first, and working with the body, and then going through the brain. So I even think about with that chair that you mentioned there, because for a lot of the clients that I have, like, a lot of people say, oh, go for mindfulness, do mindfulness meditation first. But for a lot of them, they've been so disassociated from their bodies that they don't even know how to connect. So I can only imagine how freeing being able to sit down there and for 10 minutes and find that connection, find that stillness that for so many people for years has been unavailable. And that in itself, if they're getting something tangible, will only increase their willingness to engage in therapy, and really motivate them to go further on their stages of change.
Yeah, like we have someone in our office that is a Chinese medicine doctor, someone that specifically does vagal toning, a Reiki master. Like what you're talking about really sounds like a significant overlap with what we're doing here, although you're talking about additional technologies. So the Reiki master actually uses a few different technologies, a bioamethyst mat. I'm trying to remember what the
biofeedback.
I'm wondering what the wand is called. I'm trying to remember.
Well, the wand, that's where it changes the molecules of the water so that it's more easily
And then, but you also use it on your body too. I don't remember what the wand is called.
And you're right there, Amy. Shirley also does like biofeedback too as well.
Yeah. So and fascinating, because one of the things I've noticed within the multiple disciplines of healing is you see people that have traditionally been very body-based, actually like physiotherapists, occupational therapists, you see them sliding towards the cognitive realm, and you see people that were very cognitive based sliding towards the body realm. And so I think that is fascinating. Like I remember a physiotherapist that I was seeing was saying, they're pushing this whole biopsychosocial model in physiotherapy. He goes, but when someone walks in to see me, they actually want me to do something with their body. If I sit down and have a half an hour conversation with them, and then I'm like, okay, it's time to pay me, they'll be like, you didn't do anything. And I was like,
Yeah.
right, because the person's expectation when they're coming in, and I imagine that you need to do some things to prepare people as they're coming to see you, to know what it is you're going to engage them with.
Yeah, and I think I've had that experience. So I'm an EFT practitioner, emotional freedom technique, and I would find people would expect that. Well, a lot of times people don't really know what that is, so I would explain it. But I think they think they're coming to me because they've been told. In this case, I was at a health retreat many years ago, and they would just be assigned a session with me, and they were there at the retreat for depression or anxiety. So they assumed it was an emotional session, but they might rock up to the session with a physical pain that's like a toothache or something that's actually they're in so much pain they can't even concentrate. And um, to your point about the physiotherapist, they come into me thinking they're coming for an emotional session, but I end up saying to them, actually, you're so distracted by this physical pain, we should probably focus on the pain. And they're like, what? You can actually do that? And just talking them through that. At the end of the day, pain is just an emotional manifestation in the body, and then slowly starting to work. But it's quite, I had one particular story of this client where he'd had a very strong toothache, and I met him for addiction. And we ended up working on the toothache, and we got the pain from 10 out of 10 down to 0. And he was just like, what actually just happened there? Like, how did that happen? And the whole kind of story behind it was he needed to forgive someone from his past. But he got to the point that he was able to release all the anger in relation to that situation, but couldn't quite get to that point of forgiveness in that first session. And I saw him 2 days later, and the toothache had come back. And he's like, I was like, are we ready to do that yet? He goes, I'm thinking about calling the dentist to have it pulled. Like, well, I'm not sure. That's like a short-term solution, because this pain potentially could manifest somewhere else in your body. But yes, I think part of the retreat is really educating people on how this technology kind of fits in. But I think generally, when people hear that there's technology, people are generally excited about technology. They get a bit, geeky about, or there's a fascination with technology. And I think they're more relaxed about that almost than the idea of going to a psychotherapy or a mind body session. It's just like, oh, what does that do? Oh, can I go try that chair? So there's more curiosity, which makes the job easier, because that. And the idea behind all of the technologies I've chosen, I physically went to the US to try them all, because there's a lot of technology out there claiming a lot of things. I wanted to experience things that you actually felt profoundly different after you've sat in it or used it. And that's what I've had the experience in any of the technologies we've chosen. You can feel a difference in your body. And I think that also helps with people when they use it, because they come out going, oh, for example, my mind is calm, or I've got to a place that I haven't been because my mind has been racing for years, or I've been so preoccupied or overwhelmed. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I wanted to ask you a question, Amy, because I just remember recently you saying in your own healing that you're like, I've done so much of a specific healing, like talk therapy, that you're indicating you wanted something. And I'm just wondering how you're experiencing this conversation, like what your thoughts are.
Yeah, so you're right. I've tried talk therapy before. It did feel like For myself, like I know a lot of people do benefit from talk therapy, and I do feel like I did benefit from it. But for myself, I got to a point where I kind of plateaued, and it's like I need something more than just talking to be able to help me, because I was a student at Synergy, so I got to learn about all these different types of therapies, different somatic therapies, yoga. And I was lucky enough to be able to actually try out some of this stuff.
Like holotropic breathing.
Yeah, it was incredible, incredible. And so when I tried this new stuff, it was actually super healing to me. I found that I was very disconnected from my body, and there's only so much you can do with talking if you are not connected to your body. So I find for myself that like that's something that I lean towards more with myself, at least, is I like to do more of a mind body sort of thing than just talk therapy.
Now
Yeah, and I
there's
find that,
something. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
think when I first went to talk therapy for my abuse, I found the story kind of just got louder in my head. It didn't change the story or change the way, I don't know, it just didn't seem to have, it did help, but it didn't, I think it brought it from the back of my mind to the front of my mind. I think I was unconsciously thinking about it a lot, but it wasn't until I found EFT that that really made a huge difference to how I felt about it, how I stored that in my mind. And then, quite like you, Amy, I started going, trying lots of different body therapies. And uh, it was then that I could, there was some experiences that I had that my body's just reacting and clearly releasing trauma. And it just made everything lighter. And to your point, I think it's so important to follow what feels right for you. Like we're all, like I said, we're all individuals. What works for one person may not work for that person in that moment in time. And it's important to tune in and trust yourself and go with what feels good.
Yeah, no, there's something that really jumped out at me. I'll make a link with one of the new modalities of therapy that we're using. So we work with a psychologist, on a slosher. I usually say too many in that name, don't I?
No, you're doing
But I
good,
think I
man.
got that one good. And her and one of the physicians that I worked with as well were dyad for MDMA treatment. So she's brought us into the world of psychedelics, and the use, particularly in Alberta, the one that's legal right now is ketamine. And one of the things that has been really transformative in me understanding not only this modality of therapy, but how this applies to other things, is the twofold process that is preparation for the modality, and then integration after. So that's one of the things I was wondering about, is there a problem at all with some people coming and just expecting, I'm going to get hooked up to this machine and the machine is going to do all the work for me, and it's just going to fix me?
Well, we are yet to open, so I can't honestly answer that question. But I think our goal is, for me, they come for a 28-day period, and the goal is to empower the individual to be the best version of themselves and give them as many tools that they can go back. We don't want to be a revolving door. We want them to change their patterns, change their belief systems, educate them. Technology is just there to assist them in the process, to help them be a better version of themselves, but not something that they can they are to rely on. It's just something that will help them move through the process, hopefully a little faster.
Yeah, to like accelerate it. That, I think that is a fascinating thing, and I'd be very interested, actually, as you get things rolling, maybe even in not too long, maybe 6 months or a year after you've done this for a while, that we could revisit the conversation and talk about, hey, how did this go?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would be really interested to see, like, like where you bring up the idea of preparation, like, like bringing that up and seeing kind of where you say, okay, like when do we know when these people are ready to utilize this technology, whereas when when maybe they would not be. like when like where they at the right stage of readiness for understanding that this is just a tool, that this is not a pill that you take and basically it numbs everything to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is getting more in contact with yourself, right?
Totally, exactly.
Mhm.
Yes. And I
Mhm.
think that I think the chair is something that we would look at doing from day one, just to help calm their, because most people who will be coming will probably be in a quite an emotional or overwhelmed state,
Mhm.
and to help just start relaxing their body, relaxing their mind, so that they can begin the journey. Because I think that's even the first part. Talking to other people who've in the US, for example, who run retreats, that it can be quite challenging to do mind sessions with people initially, because they can't access that part of their brain. They're just too in overwhelm. So to be able to use something like this chair to just calm them and bring them back, maybe even into their body, so that we can start processing and we can start the journey and start the work.
So I'm curious with the chair, because I mean, going off your point again with psychedelics, because some of the things that we've gone through with that, like if you remember the graphs, Jeremy, that they kind of looked at, where it's like the peak point, and then it kind of there's a point where they get the most effectiveness, and then it degrades.
Diminishing returns.
Yeah,
But
where there's
yeah.
diminishing returns.
Mhm.
I'm curious if there's anything similar like that with the chair at all.
I know that they have done some research with the chair. I haven't seen anything in relation to a point of diminishing returns, but I imagine that there would be a point that you would reach. But I think anybody that they've done the research on, it's not like they've been using it, consistently.
Longitudinally. Mhm.
Exactly. So I don't think
Mhm.
they've got to that point. But I think, as with anything, you at some stage you would. I imagine, but I'm not sure.
And I
But
have, sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
I
That
was
was
just going
my
to
bad. I
say, I
interrupted
think
you.
that also, I think that's also part of, like, the education of, from our point of view, on any of the technology you have. It's not about becoming reliant on it.
Mhm.
It's really just something to help you. It's like the IV. It's something just to support your body, support your mind, to help you on your journey, so you can process what you need to process
Mm.
to, become a better version of yourself, or a different version of yourself.
When you talk about this, I almost wonder, along with this technology, if group therapy to some degree would almost be quite vital too, as well, for helping people to integrate and kind of having like a shared sense of community, maybe.
Yeah, so we do have group therapy in the program, where we are incorporating family constellation therapy, some breath work, and uh, there's there's a third. So there's kind of three lots of group work during the
Mm.
week, as well as one-on-one tailored mind-body sessions as well. So yes, I think, to your point, it's really important, because a lot of people, when they inquire about health retreats, they really don't want group therapy. They have this aversion. They hear the word group, but that's actually where, if you talk to people after they've been to a retreat, group is where they get the most um, benefit, or they get the most insight, because they start seeing themselves in other people, or they start hearing other versions of a story, or they see, whoever it is in other people. So I, yeah, I think group is very, very important as part of the process, to help them on their journey, and to also incorporate everything else that's going on in that journey of 28 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I really like when you say family constellation. Can you speak to a little bit more about what that is?
Have any of you tried family constellation therapy before?
No.
Um, so I'm not a family constellation therapist, but this is my version of explaining it. I've experienced it a few times. Um, so the idea, I've done it in a group before of maybe 10, 15 people, and somebody's does their story. So one person will nominate someone to represent the various characters in that story, whether it's their mum, their dad, their brother, their sister. They may have somebody even represent institutions. So for example, if it's a religious family, they might have somebody representing the church, whoever the church is that of that family. And what was really interesting when I personally experienced it was watching when they would nominate somebody and they would tell them where to stand in the room. The only way I can explain it is that person would engulf the energy of that person. So they did a family constellation on me, and I watched people around me, and the physical demeanor of them changed in front of me, and they looked their physical demeanor looked more like that person they were representing, and by becoming that person, it's weird, you'll end up being in a position in that constellation that's probably healing for you. So you might take on the mother role or the father role, and if you're taking on the mother role, you probably have stuff going on with your own mum that you need to address, and by becoming the mother in this constellation and talking to this person, you'll end up healing some aspect of you, even though the constellation isn't about yourself. But the understanding is that we're all connected, so we can assume the energy, I suppose, of these people. But I think if a family constellation person heard me talking about this, they're going, that's not what it is. But this is my personal experience of it. It was hugely healing, and it wasn't just healing for me, the person who the constellation was about. It's healing for every person who is in that constellation and assuming a role in that narrative, if that makes sense.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, in The Body Keeps the Score, Bessel van der Kolk speaks about this. He actually talks about using this within the context of internal family systems.
Yeah. I was thinking about that, and I was also thinking about like dramaturgical analysis, things like that, because that almost sounds similar to that too as well.
Yeah, and I think having my own experience of that and how profound it was on my healing journey. And I also brought my husband along. He's very logical, engineer. It's like, come along to this thing. And he didn't really know what to expect, but for him, it was a hugely healing journey. And he stepped in on a constellation and played a role. And in that, in assuming that role, it was hugely healing for him and his own personal journey. And I just thought, I have a number of friends and colleagues who are family constellation therapists, and I was like, I really wanted to incorporate this into the program because I personally felt how healing it was for me, and I saw in the constellations that I witnessed that day how healing it was for everybody else, not just the person whose actually story that you're actually running with.
I can really hear, like you said, about the healing nature of it. And part of I think you said that your retreats are approximately a week long. Is that right?
28 days.
28 days, actually, yeah.
Yeah, so a month.
A month long, yeah. So in that, like that's a lot of trust and a lot of healing to really happen, over 1 month.
Yes.
If you really think about it, yeah.
Yeah, I think for some of the technology we have, it needs 21 to maybe 28 days to actually get the best results. So that was part of the reason. Also, they say it's 30 days to create a new habit. There's a lot of people who, are coming from an addicted background. We're trying to create a new habit for them. So 7 days is not something that we just don't feel it gives us enough time. A lot of the time you have a lot of emotional stuff that you need to address, the emotional reason why they're doing this behavior, or so yeah, 28 days is the reason why we've chosen that length of time.
Is very similar to a lot of the treatment programs. Kind of the minimum stay is usually 28 days, with some being much longer when you're talking about addiction treatment.
Yeah. I think there are some places in Australia where you can go shorter, like 10, 14 days. But like I said, we really don't want to be a revolving door. Our goal is hopefully to see people, give them a comprehensive aftercare program, but the goal is hopefully we don't have to see that person again, that we give them all the tools and the skills. And life is going to have its ups and downs, but hopefully they will ride those waves and be more resilient, and they'll use the tools and not fall back into old patterns or old behaviors.
Where at did you say in Australia the retreat is located?
It's just north of Brisbane in the Sunshine Coast.
Right. So it sounds like a pretty great place to be.
It is pretty beautiful. We've got like 30 acres. It's the land itself feels very, very healing. It's a beautiful rainforest walk. It's got 2 waterfalls. It's lush green in the sunshine. It's just a chance for people to disconnect, because I know we're so connected. So many of us are just constantly on our phone. So a chance to reconnect to the land, reconnect to themselves, and just take a breath, because most of the time we're just running on empty and trying to get through our day. So I think the land plays a major part in the healing process to just ground back in and reconnect to themselves, and take a moment, which for a lot of people, they don't feel like they have a moment. They're just constantly on the run.
I know. I'm just I'm really interested to almost see probably when these people are going back to their families and their family systems after this 28-day stay. I can almost imagine, like, as you're doing this, that you're probably going to get a lot of referrals from from people that have been through the retreat before, maybe recommending family, friends, things like that, because they see the impact that this can potentially have.
Yeah, and I think that used to happen in previous retreats. They would go back home and people would see a different, more positive version of this person, like what's happened to you. And then their friends would be calling, or their family members going, okay, well, I want a bit of what he or she has, what's happened there. So I think this space, I do feel, is very much word of mouth. I think once you've experienced it for yourself, people want to know what you've done or what's happened, or can they have access to that. So yes, I think that's very much the case.
Yeah, I can imagine. I've wanted to go to Australia my whole life. In fact, I worked I work for the Canadian Armed Forces part of my time right now, but previous to coming to the city we're in, Medicine Hat, I worked at Canadian Forces Base Cold Lake, and there was hip deep snow in the winter. And I was thinking, I need to get out of here. and one of the things that popped up was a job in Australia. So I'd actually looked at that for a bit, but selling everything and starting all over again.
Yeah,
I wasn't really keen. But at some point, maybe at some point in time, you'll see me, and I'll be sitting in your chair.
It's great. Come over and have a look.
Yeah.
I'm inviting lots of people to come and have a look and check it out, because I'm really excited about what we're creating. And yeah.
Who knows? I'll have to bring my trapeze with me, and then I'll have to lift myself into one of those chairs. And
Portable trapeze.
Well, and that's actually an interesting point to bring up. So with a lot of these technologies that you're utilizing, have any of it been looked at for adaptation for persons with physical or psychological disabilities, things of that nature? And what sort of adaptations, if has there had to been made?
Sorry, what was the second part of that question?
And what adaptations, if have there been made to accommodate people with physical or developmental disabilities?
So of the technologies we're getting, just trying to think. There's one piece of technology which is a chamber or a pod, that it so it does have, we're getting it for the mental health, but it does, from the memory on the dashboard, there's physical, whether it's chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Parkinson's, whatever it is, you can actually select a program. So it can help with healing, help with people who have physical issues. And that particular device was created by a guy in, I believe, in the US, who son had cerebral palsy. So he wanted to try and find things that would assist his son. So he traveled the world and he invented this chamber that spins 360 degrees for 30 minutes. You're lying on a PEMF mat, so it's energizing your cells. You have things on your ears, so it's doing vagus nerve stimulation. You're listening to binaural beats. It's got lights flashing, so they say it's similar to like EMDR. There's lots going on, and then there's frequencies going in, and you need to do that every day for 21 or 28 days. And his son did it for 20, I think it's 28 days when he was 6 or 7. And he, from memory, because I've only heard him tell his story once, a lot of his cerebral palsy symptoms, not symptoms, but he, whether he's healed, but he's, it causes, let me reframe this. It allows the body to make connections and help with new neural pathways. So there's a lot of, and he was asked, did his son have to go back on the machine? But his son didn't go back on the machine for many, many, many years later. So I've heard some stories in relation to physical, but that's the only story that really stands out, because he invented the machine for his son. So it was a very interesting story. But I think we were looking at more from, because we're setting up the retreat for mental health and addiction.
Yeah, question. In terms of accessibility, so if there is someone that is a wheelchair user or something of that nature, is accessibility something that's part of your plan?
Definitely, it is part of the plan. So where the technology is located is definitely wheelchair accessible. And I'm just trying to, so we're currently in the process of renovating at the moment. So I'm just thinking of the location of where everything is going. So yeah, that is definitely part of the plan, so that it can be wheelchair accessible. And yes, so that would be the case.
Definitely have to check that out.
Now, Amy, I know that you have had interest in potentially training in neurofeedback. I'm very curious about your thoughts about this conversation.
Well, it sounds really interesting to me. I was actually thinking as you're talking about it, I'm like, where can I find one of these services? Because I'm wondering like how new this technology is and where it's available. Like in maybe some countries it's readily available, in some countries it's not a thing.
Yeah,
have
so
any
US
information on that?
is readily available, so I can send you links of where I know it's, but outside of the US, I haven't been able to find it. So the chamber or the pod that I was talking about, it was invented 40 years ago, but considering it's been 40 years out there, it's not many people, it seems, from my point of view, have been talking about it. It was very hard for me to find. The other technologies are probably more in the last 10 years, I would say. So I think if you're that side of the water, if you're in the US or Canada, you're more likely to probably be able to access some of these technologies. But outside of the US and Canada, we unfortunately are not able to access these technologies. That's the reason why I'm bringing them over here.
Gotcha.
And what's the chair called again?
The electric
Shift
chair.
wave.
Oh, not the electric chair.
It's called shift wave.
Shift wave?
Shift wave. So it looks like what do you call them? It looks almost like oh my God, what's the word?
Like a
It's
lazy
like a
boy?
beach chair. It's like like a beach chair that you're just kind of suspended. You know, you can
Oh,
put
zero gravity.
zero
Yeah,
gravity.
yeah,
So
Oh,
that's the
yeah.
word.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like a zero gravity chair with pulses, pulsation centers all down your back, and you're wearing a mask and you're listening to audio, and it's getting you to breathe. And as you're in the chair, you'll get to a point that you're breathing, and then the vibrations will stop, and you feel like you're just free falling through space. It's a
Hmm.
very incredible um, feeling, and I think both my business partner and I tried the chair at separate times. And when he tried it, and after he did 2 10-minute sessions, he just looked like so relaxed. He looked like he was half asleep when he got out of the chair the second time.
Mhm.
And he's probably a daily meditator, and he was saying he'd never experienced anything as profound as that. So, yeah. So
So
yeah,
it sounds like a level of like different kinds of energy type medicines. Is the Beamer also a product that you use?
no, I haven't.
Mm.
No, I don't think
And that
I've
was
heard
just a
of that.
point of curiosity because I know that there's actually so many of these different technologies. That's one of the ones that actually in our home we purchased ourselves. And
Oh,
once
okay.
again, it's about energy shift, ionization.
Yeah.
Is that your amethyst bed, dude? The Beamer?
No, I also have an amethyst biomat too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm wondering if there's any links between the chair and the amethyst bed.
I don't know. I mean, they both use ionization. The bed is from the amethyst heating up and radiating, and the Beamer's entirely different. I don't even know where to start in explaining that actually. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it made me curious if that was one of the technologies. How many different technologies are you going to have in your at your
Um,
disposal?
we're having one, two, three. We're having five technologies.
And do you
Um,
mind highlighting that a little bit more, or like what that'll look like for
sure.
people?
So we're the chamber, which has all of those elements in one, and the reason we're doing that one was because of the personal experience that we've had ourselves, and also the testimonials that we're hearing from people in the US regarding addiction, um, pain, etc. We're doing the chair that I'd mentioned, and the experience we had ourselves on that, and really feel that would help clients just um, relax their body, relax their mind, and be able to do the work with them. We're using a red light therapy device for the gut and the brain, because we feel like depression, a lot of things can start in the gut to help heal the gut, and a lot of times there would be a lot of gut repair that needs to be done in these situations. We're using a TMS machine, but with a protocol out of the US to help with brain balancing. And I'm missing one. I'm just trying
And
to think where
TMS
it is.
is a magnetic treatment, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's a specific protocol this lady has developed in the US. Again, I've not seen it outside of the US, and she's the one who's having really really strong results with
Mhm.
85% of people not relapsing. And then the fifth one, what is the fifth one? It'll come back to me. Sorry, I can't remember. There is one
That's all
more
good.
escaping my
That's all good.
mind.
We do
Yeah.
have a psychiatrist here in Medicine Hat that uses TMS, and
Okay.
their protocols are very specific. They only take well, I guess it can be used off-label, but this doctor doesn't. So, treatment-resistant depression is the only thing he uses to treat.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
mhm.
So this lady in the US, it is used off label, um, and it's it's just a slightly different protocol, but with
Mhm.
incredible results. But yeah, it's a case by case basis, of course.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
would be accessing that particular technology.
So when is the when is it that you're opening?
The 26th of November is the date we're aiming for at the moment. So there's,
Gotcha.
as I said, there's been renovations in process. We have furniture arriving actually today. So there's quite a bit to do between now and then, but hopefully the plan is to be open in November this year.
And how do people connect to request services?
They can just go on the website, which is hinterlandhealthretreat.com. We actually have a waiting list up at the moment, so they can go and fill in the wait list, and they'll get 20% off the price by jumping on the wait list. There's also email. They can fill in the contact us form if they've got any questions. So just visiting the site, that's probably the best way to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually brings up an interesting thing that just occurred to me. I wonder if there are, or if you'll get a lot of mental health tourists in terms of like people come like booking a vacation, but for this specifically for their mental health purposes.
Like
Yeah, well,
mental health vacation.
Yeah, mental health vacation. I believe, yes, that has happened in other retreats, that are
Totally
20 days long, so that people would come from Asia, um, even United Arab Emirates, and I think some have come from the US. I think because you guys don't get as much holiday as we get here, like from work, unless you're working for yourself. So I
and then
think
you even
there's
get less.
yeah. Do you guys get like 7 days or something holiday or something like that?
Just standard when you start somewhere is 2 weeks per year, and then it usually builds up to 6 depending on how long you stay somewhere.
Right. Okay.
Mhm.
So I think that's why generally you've seen people like from closer, like from Asia, coming to Australia for a retreat. But yes, that potentially would be a possibility that people will come for a health vacation. So, yeah, if you're thinking of a health vacation, have a look at Hinterland Health Retreat.
And really, if we're gonna come to Australia, it's like a 28-hour flight or some wild thing. So we'd want to stick around for a month anyway.
Yeah, I wonder if we could write that off as a business expense.
A business expense.
Yeah. Well, we could.
Wait. You know that like Canada Revenue Agency is probably listening to this right now, Trent.
Well,
they're gonna bust you. Why did you say this on air?
Well, okay, it was a question. So if there's anybody out there from Canada Revenue Agency, maybe you could get back to me and say, like, would this be a reasonable business expense?
Or maybe if you joined us, you'll let it be a business expense.
Yeah, exactly.
Wait, did I say that?
Maybe you could come over and then you could do a podcast from there.
Ooh, you know what? That is an excellent idea.
Yeah. Well, on that note, it's been wonderful having a conversation with you. I'm just wondering kind of the big things that
I have a question, actually.
Yeah, shoot.
Yeah. Jackie, you said that you do EFT. Some of the people at Synergy, they also do EFT, but I'm just curious. I want to hear like your definition of kind of like what it is and what you do with it.
So when I describe it to clients, I say it does 3 things. So 1, you've got energy centers and meridian points in your body. If you've been to an acupuncturist, instead of putting a needle in, I'll be tapping on these points to stimulate these points. When I get you to think of something, so let's say I'm getting you to think of something sad, your brain is sending a message down to your body to do sadness. So by tapping on these points, I am messing up the message that's being sent down to your body. And also, if you hadn't gathered, I'm very good at talking, even better in a session. So I will use my words, excuse the French, to mind fuck you. I will basically use my words to change your perception, change the way you're seeing things. And that combination causes it to collapse. So by going through that process with me, you may have started out with 10 out of 10 sadness, and we can get you down to 0 out of 10. But what I love about EFT is I can teach you how to do it in that session, and you can go home and do it on yourself. You don't need to rely on me. I just facilitate you helping to release that emotion or whatever the emotions are. And I empower you with your own personal script, teach you how to do it, send you an email so you can remember how to do it, and that you can go off and do it on yourself, and that's what I love, because everyone, you know, you can do it on yourself. It's brilliant. It's so easy. The one thing with EFT is there's many points to learn. So I just teach them a small, like 4 or 5 points, so that they don't have to, you know, remember all 13 points, because it can be very overwhelming. But if they can just learn a few, it still works. So have you experienced EFT yourself?
That was with Annie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not specifically that aspect of EFT, but like a different aspect of it.
Yeah, I've
The
received
person
the
who
treatment
does
too.
EFT, she actually also runs a podcast. I would highly suggest
You
like
you
checking
connect together.
that out. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
guys
can send you an email.
Love talking to each other.
I can send you an email to connect with Annie, and you could collaborate there and cross-pollinate.
Let's actually, I want to list what her podcast is called so that we can say it on here.
Sure.
She's got a great podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And by the way, I was trying to figure out, said, excuse the French. I didn't hear any French in that statement. But, you know, as someone that came from the British Isles, maybe you got something against the French. Maybe you don't. I don't know.
Okay, so Annie's podcast is called It's a Matter of Life and Death, and it's from the Energy Medicine Clinic. And she's on Spotify. She might be on some other things too, but I know for sure she's on Spotify.
Yeah, I'll also send you like an email address that you could connect with Annie. I'm sure she would love to be able to connect.
And of course, to all the listeners, like, look up her podcast because it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think the reason she calls it a matter of life and death is because she's also a death doula, right?
Yes, so she does a lot of things. Her podcast is mostly based on like aspects of life and death, of course, but she does a lot of energy work as well, which is definitely integrated with life.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think a lot of EFT practitioners usually they're a jack of a few trades, because they'll do EFT and they may end up doing like Reiki or other modalities as well.
And she does Reiki too.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Totally. So I'm wondering, reflections, like, what are you taking away from this appointment?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in a therapy
Thanks for
appointment
taking
right now.
me in to this appointment today.
Honestly,
this episode.
Well, while we were talking, I literally looked up the Shift Wave chair just to see what it looks like, and I really want to try this because, I mean, not only do I, have issues with meditation myself, I want to find a way to make it easier for my clients. So if this is something that can work for them, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know for myself, from doing breath work and stuff, it was incredible and just had like such a shift for me. And so I would absolutely love to try this chair if it's available anywhere. Like, all the technology that you're talking about is like very interesting to me. Like, just stuff I haven't heard of, and it's very good to like get it out there so that more people can hear about it and experience new ways of healing.
Yeah, and for me, Jackie, one of the biggest things that jumps out is there's a few different places where I've seen the uses of technology, and to have you bringing something together where you have multiple modalities all in one place, and the opportunity to take like a 1 month step away from life to reset your nervous system and put yourself into a different state. Certainly, I think that would be a magnificent experience.
Yes, I'm very excited about it, and I will keep you posted when I'm open, and we'll reach out and let you know how it's all going.
All right.
Awesome. On that note, I'm Trent Nakers.
I'm Amy Alcorn.
And I'm Jeremy Alcorn.
See you next time.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope that this message has been as meaningful to you as it has been to us. If you're looking for help, you can find us on Facebook at Humanizing Mental Health.